You know, people love to say they're free. I can do whatever I want. That's the great anthem of modern life. We wear it like a badge, hum it like a national hymn. We think freedom means choosing between 1,000 brands of cereal or deciding whether to stream this show or that one. But freedom has become so safe, so domesticated, that it no longer threatens anyone. The system doesn't have to cage you, it just has to teach you to love the leash. And you do. You call it convenience, or lifestyle, or choice. But choice isn't freedom. It's choreography. You're not dancing, you're being led. Look at the world around you. Everything is designed to make you feel in control while quietly steering you where you're supposed to go. You can vote, sure. You can tweet. You can even protest, as long as you don't disrupt the flow of business. Try stepping outside the script, though. Try saying something that doesn't fit the binary, or wanting something that can't be bought. Watch how fast the walls appear. The myth of freedom isn't that we're imprisoned, it's that we've confused the illusion of agency with the experience of liberation. We're told we can be anything, but that's only true if anything fits inside the catalog. The philosopher Herbert Marcuse called this repressive tolerance, the idea that you can say and do anything you want as long as it doesn't matter. You can scream all day online, you can vote every 4 years, hell, you can even change your gender or your job, but the structure stays the same. The market absorbs your rebellion like a sponge, packages it, and sells it back to you as individuality. That's why real freedom feels so impossible today. Not because it's forbidden, but because it's irrelevant. The system doesn't need to silence you when it can monetize your dissent. And let's be honest, most of us don't really want freedom. We want comfort. We want the feeling of control without the burden of consequence. Freedom, real freedom, is terrifying. It demands thought, responsibility, solitude. It means asking questions no one wants to answer. Why do I believe what I believe? Why do I want what I want? Who benefits from my choices? The moment you start asking those, the room gets cold. The smiles fade. People shift in their seats. Because genuine freedom isn't polite. It's disruptive. It ruins the party. But maybe that's the point. Maybe freedom was never meant to be easy. Maybe it's not a gift you're handed at birth, but a discipline, something you wrestle with every day. Freedom isn't a slogan, it's a wound you keep reopening so it doesn't scar into obedience. To be free is to live in discomfort, to refuse certainty, to stay suspicious even of your own thoughts. It's to look at the menu of modern life and realize you didn't write it, and then somehow to keep asking for something that isn't on it. I guess what I'm saying is this. If you've ever felt like you're doing everything right and still feel trapped, you're not crazy. You're just brushing up against the edges of the myth. The system will tell you that's failure, that you should buy something, fix yourself, distract yourself. But maybe that unease is the first real act of freedom. Because freedom doesn't start when you feel in control. It starts when you finally admit that you aren't and you start thinking anyway. You ever notice how tired everyone looks? Not just sleepy, existentially tired, like they've been running a marathon in a maze. We live in a culture that worships freedom, but no one has the energy to use it. You can do anything, go anywhere, be anyone, as long as you can stay awake. That's the quiet cruelty of the modern system. It doesn't imprison you, it just wears you down. It doesn't silence you, it floods you. Every ping, every scroll, every breaking headline, another drop in the slow drip of exhaustion. You're not a rebel, you're a consumer of chaos. You see, freedom isn't taken from us, it's drained out of us. It leaks away through distraction, through the endless maintenance of our digital lives. We're told the world has never been more connected, but all that connection feels like static. Everyone talking, no one listening. It's a kind of managed overstimulation, a perfect way to keep you too busy to think. The philosopher Neil Postman warned about this decades ago, that we'd end up amusing ourselves to death. He was right. Only it's not just amusement now, it's exhaustion as ideology. You're too tired to question, and the system calls that balance. You wake up to notifications, go to work under fluorescent lights, drown in emails, come home and unwind by staring at a smaller screen. Every minute, something wants your attention, your job, your feed, your personal brand. and each one takes a small toll. You don't collapse dramatically, you just fade. Your edges blur. You scroll yourself to sleep. And somewhere between the 9th and 10th swipe, freedom becomes a background concept, something you used to care about before everything started feeling like too much. The genius of modern control is that it doesn't need to punish you for disobedience, it just keeps you productive. Tired people don't revolt, they rest. You might even post a meme about self-care because the system has already anticipated your burnout and turned it into a market. There's a whole industry built to sell you your own energy back, meditation, apps, retreats, supplements, all branded as liberation. Recharge so you can get back to the grind. They call that wellness. I call it repackaged obedience. But here's the thing. Exhaustion isn't just physical. It's moral. It's the fatigue of trying to care in a world designed to numb you. You scroll past wars, floods, corruption, and the algorithm knows how long you'll look before you turn away. It calibrates your compassion like a thermostat. You're allowed to feel, but only briefly, only safely. That's not apathy, that's survival. The system doesn't suppress outrage, it schedules it. So yeah, we're free in theory, but in practice we're too tired to use that freedom for anything real. You can't rebel if you're half asleep. You can't think if your thoughts are constantly interrupted. And maybe that's the point, to keep you running on fumes, busy enough to feel useful, distracted enough to never stop and ask why. I'm not blaming you, hell, I'm tired too. Some days I feel like my brain's been outsourced to the machine. But I'll tell you this, the first act of rebellion now isn't protest, it's rest. Not the kind you buy, but the kind you steal back a moment of silence, unmarketed, unplugged, because freedom doesn't die in tyranny, it dies in exhaustion. And maybe the most radical thing you can do today is to stop moving long enough to remember what it feels like to be awake. You ever notice how people say they want the truth until they actually hear it? Everyone claims to love honesty, authenticity, real talk. But start speaking your mind, really speaking it, and watch how fast the room goes quiet. Real freedom isn't glamorous, it's lonely. It's the art of being misunderstood. To think for yourself means to risk exile from the tribe, and let's be honest, most people would rather be wrong together than right alone. We're social animals, not philosophers. And the crowd, well, the crowd doesn't crucify you anymore. It just scrolls past you, which somehow hurts worse. We live in a world that celebrates individuality, but only the kind that can be liked, followed, monetized. The internet gave everyone a voice, and in doing so, it made everyone terrified to use it. You don't need a dictator when people censor themselves out of fear of losing approval. The new police wear smiles, not uniforms. They're your followers, your co-workers, your peers. They'll tell you what's problematic, what's appropriate, what's too much. You'll adjust, of course. You'll soften the edge, trim the opinion, blur the truth, not because you're afraid of punishment, but because you crave belonging. You don't want to disappear into silence. And that's how control works now, not through violence, but through validation. In the old days, conformity was enforced by threat. Now it's maintained by applause. Every like, every retweet, every algorithmic nod is a little pat on the head, good citizen. Keep talking, but only like this. It's a brilliant system, really. You get to feel free while staying perfectly aligned. You curate your thoughts, polish your outrage, rehearse your virtues. You don't have to believe, you just have to perform belief convincingly. And so we build our digital masks, smiling, righteous, agreeable, all of us pretending to be unique in the same predictable ways. But freedom, real freedom, doesn't fit in that frame. It's messy, unpopular, uncomfortable. It's the willingness to be wrong, to offend, to question sacred things. It's choosing honesty over harmony. You can't be free and loved by everyone not in a culture built on consensus. The freest people always look like troublemakers. Socrates, who asked too many questions. Diogenes, who lived in a barrel. Malcolm X, who refused to be polite about justice. These weren't rebels for the sake of it. They were people who refused to trade truth for approval, and they paid for it. Freedom always comes with an invoice. The tragedy is that we've made cowardice look virtuous. We call it diplomacy, professionalism, good branding. We hide behind words like nuance and balance, but often they're just masks for fear. Fear of being disliked. Fear of standing alone. We think we're being smart, but what we're really doing is disappearing. You can't have truth without tension, and you can't have freedom without risk. But we've built a world where comfort is worth more than either. Sometimes I wonder if we even remember what it feels like to speak without checking who's listening. To say something because it's true, not because it's safe. It's terrifying, but it's also alive. Maybe that's why real freedom feels so rare. It's not that people don't want it, it's that they don't want to lose everything else that comes with being liked. And I get it. I've been there. It's hard to keep talking when the room turns cold. But silence bought with comfort isn't peace, it's decay. So if you ever find yourself standing alone with an unpopular truth, don't flinch. Don't soften it. That loneliness you feel, that's the price of thinking freely. And if the crowd turns away, let them. You weren't speaking for them anyway. You know, I've met a lot of people who think freedom is something you get, like a diploma. You work for it, you earn it, and then congratulations, you're free. You buy the books, take the trips, quit your job, start meditating, post about breaking the system, and wait for that glorious moment when you finally feel liberated. But that feeling never lasts, does it? Because freedom isn't a finish line. It's not a product. It's not something you can post about or measure. Freedom isn't an answer, it's a question you have to keep asking, even when it ruins your comfort, especially then. The problem is, people don't want questions. They want conclusions. They want a list, a method, a guru, a lifestyle, something to follow. The irony is beautiful. Even the people trying to escape the system end up creating another one. You've got the minimalists, the spiritualists, the productivity dropouts, all convinced they've found the right way to be free. They trade one dogma for another, one master for a new, more aesthetic one. Freedom becomes a brand of rebellion, clean, curated, monetizable. But real freedom doesn't sell. It unsettles. It doesn't give you a tribe. It leaves you standing in the dark asking, now what? The philosopher Socrates understood this 2,000 years ago. He didn't go around declaring truths. He went around asking questions that made people hate him. Because that's what truth does. It annoys. Socrates called it the gadfly that buzzing in your mind that won't let you rest. That's real freedom. The ability to question not just others, but yourself. To doubt your own enlightenment, your own righteousness, your own clever opinions. And if you can't do that, you're not free, you're just loyal to a new illusion that happens to flatter you more than the old one. Freedom, the way I see it, isn't about control. It's about surrender, surrendering the fantasy of certainty. You stop pretending that life has a master plan, that history is building toward redemption, that your beliefs are somehow immune to corruption. You start realizing that every truth you cling to can become a cage if you stop questioning it. Even philosophy, even freedom itself. That's the paradox. The moment you think you have freedom, you've lost it. It's like catching smoke. The tighter you grip it, the faster it slips through your fingers. And maybe that's why so many people give up on freedom, because it doesn't feel like what they were promised. It's not euphoric. It's uncomfortable. It's standing in front of the void without trying to fill it. It's saying, I don't know, and meaning it. But that's also the beauty of it, that honesty, that space where you stop performing knowledge and start living in wonder again. When I was young, I thought philosophy would give me the answers. Now I know it only gave me better questions, the kind that keep me up at night, the kind that save me from ever getting too certain about myself. And maybe that's what keeps me alive. The doubt, the searching, the refusal to pretend that I've arrived anywhere. So if you ever feel lost because you don't have the answers, don't panic. That's what being awake feels like. The ones who claim to know everything, they're the real prisoners. Freedom isn't the end of the road. It's the decision to keep walking, even when you have no idea where you're going. You ever notice how we talk about freedom like it's a vacation package? Find your freedom, live free, be unapologetically yourself. The slogans sound nice, but the truth is, uglier freedom isn't a lifestyle, it's a wound. It doesn't soothe, it stings. It's not about comfort or validation or being admired. Real freedom means being willing to make everyone around you, and sometimes yourself, deeply uncomfortable. Because once you stop living by their rules, you stop fitting in. And most people would rather stay in a comfortable lie than stand alone in the truth. The first thing you lose when you become free is popularity. You stop saying the things that make people nod. You stop performing the version of yourself that everyone's trained to like. And suddenly you notice the air getting colder, fewer invitations, fewer smiles, fewer "you're so right" comments. The system doesn't need to punish free people. It just lets them starve for approval. That's the real test. Can you keep thinking when no one claps? Can you hold your ground when silence greets your honesty? Freedom begins there, at the moment when your need to be true finally outweighs your need to be liked. But don't romanticize it. It's not heroic. It's not cinematic. It's awkward, lonely, exhausting. You'll doubt yourself constantly. You'll wish you could. Unsee things. Unsay things. There's a reason comfort is so addictive. It's easy. It offers the illusion of safety, belonging, peace. But comfort is a subtle kind of death. It keeps you still while the world burns around you. Freedom, on the other hand, keeps you raw. It keeps your nerves exposed. You feel everything, the injustice, the absurdity, the beauty, too. You live without anesthesia, and that hurts like hell, but it's also the only way to stay awake. The philosopher Albert Camus once said, "The only way to deal with an unfree world is to become so absolutely free that your very existence is an act of rebellion." That's not metaphor, that's survival. Because every institution, every algorithm, every polite little norm is built to keep you obedient not with fear, but with comfort. The world doesn't want you angry, it wants you entertained. It doesn't want you to revolt, it wants you to relax. To be free, you have to reject that lullaby, the plain soothing hum that says everything's fine. You have to stay restless. And yeah, that's a hard way to live. Some days I envy the ones who can just switch off, who can sink back into the soft sleep of conformity. But then I remember they don't feel much anymore. They've traded friction for ease, conviction for calm. Freedom asks more of you. It demands presence, risk, courage. The courage to think in public, to stand in the discomfort of not being understood, to keep questioning even when the answers get uglier. So if freedom feels impossible, that's because it's supposed to. If it were easy, it wouldn't change you. You can't be free and comfortable at the same time. The two don't coexist. The moment you start choosing thought over belonging, truth over approval, you begin to earn it. And maybe that's what it really means to live, to stop waiting for permission to exist as yourself, even if it costs you everything soft and easy. Because comfort keeps you asleep. And freedom, for all its pain, is the only thing that proves you're still alive.